And that's the way that I run my business, is I try to keep things simple. I started with, again, just recruiting a few people, made a lot of mistakes, hired some wrong people, did some wrong things, self-corrected, but I kept moving forward. I screwed up a lot and then fixed it as best I could and just kept moving forward, kept setting new goals and trying to get better. I'll tell you one thing that I think all of my team members would tell you, and this is from the heart, that I don't think about myself.
Welcome back to the Light It Up podcast. If you're new to this channel and you want to know everything about making money in real estate, selling, sales skills, building your business, or investing, then subscribe below, tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know what makes our great guests so successful.
Let's talk about adding leverage. So we've been getting a lot of calls of people asking us how we've hired virtual assistants to scale and leverage our business. So we've opened up our playbook to all of you. If you're looking to add leverage in your business, whether it's administrative support, ISA, outbound callers, go to addleverage.com and they'll be there to help you staffing your team.
All right. Today we have with us Mr. Gordon Watson. Gordon, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, you bet. Appreciate the invite. Thank you, guys.
We're excited to spend some time with you.
Me as well.
Before we get started, why don't you...
Love getting to see Kiro last week, by the way. We had a great time playing golf, didn't we, buddy?
We did. And Gordon is 6'6". He is tall as hell, so he makes you feel really small.
But see, the thing that was great about Kiro and I playing golf is neither one of us can play. So, we just had a great time. We didn't have too high of expectations.
Yeah.
I saw him post a picture on Instagram that he was playing with you and Steve and everybody, and I was like, oh man, they must be having a field day knowing that he's ripping up the course. And
we had a blast.
It was a good time.
Golf's one of those things that Kiro and I have always said, probably for 5 years now, saying that we gotta go get lessons. We gotta go to the driving range more. And,
right.
But I give him credit because he's actually now playing a lot more. So.
He didn't throw one club the entire round. I'm telling you, so proud of him.
But did anybody throw a club at him?
No.
Well, we did find that he had really good reflexes.
I'll say this much: we were playing. I didn't realize that you're not supposed to talk when the other person's hitting. I was just going on and on. We had a really great guy. His name is Bill Landry, based out of Canada, and he was just like. I'm like, oh, it's a rule. You got to shut up when the person's about to hit.
Yeah.
I'm like,
golf is all about rules. Even if you can't play, they got all these rules.
Yeah.
It's like to have fun.
It was an absolute pleasure to meet you in person, and it's
you as well.
Watson Empowers is such a great organization, and to be able to see the other half being exposed to it was kind of a massive eye opener. So there's an immense amount of value that I am excited for you to share with our listeners. But before we do, for people who do not know who Gordon Watson is, can you please share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, you bet. So I don't know how much you want to know. I got into real estate in 1986. Here's a crazy coincidence, and this literally is a coincidence. My partner, Steve Powers, and I both got into the real estate business at the exact same year, 1986. And then he and I started coaching the exact same year, 1996. Wow. So, I started off as an independent agent, sold and closed somewhere over 4,000 houses over my career. Started coaching in 1996. So what's that put me at 27 years or so? Yeah. I love it. I love it. I started a team in 2019, the Gordon Watson team, 2019. And last year was our fourth full year. We did 528 transactions with roughly 16, 17 salespeople.
Wow.
This year, got 19 salespeople, and we were on track to go over 600 transactions this year. We had our best month last month. We had 3 months in a row. Get this. We had 3 months in a row where we set a goal to hit 65, and we hit 54. Mm-hmm. So 54 in May, it was June, July, August. And then September, we hit 59.
Incredible.
Okay, so just barely missed. And this, let's see, what's today's date?
Today's the 6th.
This is October 6th. And I think we're at 18 sales so far.
Wow.
So we got a shot. I see 65 is like the plateau that I had set. And when the team hit 65, there's a restaurant in town called Mahogany's, and it's arguably the nicest restaurant in the city.
Yeah.
And so I told the team, hey, we hit 65, then I'm taking you guys to Mahogany's. We're renting a private banquet room and open bar. But then I got to thinking afterwards, maybe you have to do, a little control on that. But so that's our goal.
I'll add on to that a little bit because I got to know you a little bit more personally as well. So Gordon was bored and he figured, let me start a team because he was like, I'm doing 100 plus alone. Let's start managing people.
But here's the thing, Kira. I was really good at listing and selling homes. Okay. I was really good at it. But as I learned, when you get older and you start to analyze, what's your passion? What's your purpose? I could go out and list and sell houses and, that's great. But making a difference in people's lives, just like that 2-day event that you were at. And by the way, you did such a phenomenal job when we brought you up on stage. I mean, you inspired people.
Thank you.
And they loved your story. So I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you for having me.
But when you have an opportunity to make a difference in people's lives, whether it's the Watson Powers clients that we have, or whether it's the team that I've got, it's like a bigger purpose.
Yeah.
And that's what I finally realized, hey, this is what was missing. I mean, I was doing great listing and selling homes, but I've got to have that part of my life fulfilled. And so it's been phenomenal. I've loved it. I don't feel like I'm working. I feel like I get to do what I love to do every day.
Yeah. And the other part of it too is that you're a father of 7 children.
7 children. Yep. Always been a high producer.
Yep. I'll share with you something. This fly is driving me crazy. If you're listening to this, there's a fly attacking me at the moment. Can I share a secret that was being shared amongst some of the small circles while we were playing golf and et cetera for the 2 days?
Man, I thought whatever was said on the golf course stays on the golf course.
Well, this was between the guys. This was said. This is
Go ahead.
said
I'm
behind
kidding.
He's really good at keeping secrets.
Yeah, I'm stitching everybody.
It's just all the people that he tells that aren't any good at it, right?
When we were talking on the golf course and some of the guys, we were all talking about mentors, and we're talking about previous mentors and people that we would want to admire to be like. And a lot of the conversations over those 2 days wasn't about business or transactions. It was about really a lot of the 5 equities of living, right? And we were like, it's interesting. You'd want to model it after someone you'd want to be in their shoes. And we were like, look at Gordon, for example. He has 7 kids. He's infatuated with his wife. Every time there was a break or something going on, he would be running to his wife and screw everything else. We were like, that's something you'd want to idolize, right? And so that's you are the Ted Lasso for real estate, in my opinion.
Well, thank you.
So that's we're gonna get into that in a second, but let's first do the lightning round.
Oh, I've heard about this, by the way. My son was briefing me on it. He said he was anticipating the questions you're going to ask. So when you're done, I'll tell him if you were right.
We've kept them pretty PG. These are more inspirational today.
Got it.
Audio Jungle.
All right. What chance encounter changed your life forever?
What chance encounter changed my life forever? It would have been December of 1984 in English class. I started off in English class sitting in a desk at on one end of the room at a 90-degree angle from the instructor. And one of the things that I always did in schools, I wanted to be up front in front of the teacher because I knew that I'd have to pay attention. That was my self-accountability. So I guess somebody dropped the class or whatever, a desk opened up. And so I moved over to that desk, which happened to be right next to the lady who is now my wife.
You said 1984?
So I'd say that December of 1984. That's when she started cheating off my paper.
Holy moly.
The only thing I can't figure out is how she got a better grade. I finally determined she only cheated on the right answers.
That's the smartest thing she did.
Smart woman.
Yep. What's the worst job you ever had?
McDonald's. Oh my God. I was 15 years old working at McDonald's and I got fired.
What did you get fired for?
I know everybody says it wasn't my fault. It really wasn't my fault. So the first time I didn't show up for work because I had a sports banquet. I was an athlete. I had a sports banquet and I'd never had a job before. And I asked one of the other coworkers of mine, I said, would you cover my shift tomorrow night? And he said, yeah, no problem. So I thought I had done my job. Well, I was supposed to go to the manager, and the manager had to approve it and all this stuff. I didn't know that. Nobody told me. Guy said he's going to cover it, so he's going to cover it. So that was strike one. Well, then way back when, this was in the early 80s, they stapled your schedule on top of the previous week. And so when I looked at my schedule, they had it offset by one day. So I thought that I was supposed to come into work the next day when I was supposed to come into work that day. So that was 2 times I didn't show up for work. And let me tell you, that was the first job that I ever had, and got fired, and was never happier in my life that I got fired, because I hated working at McDonald's.
Yeah.
So
that's a good story.
That was definitely the worst.
Let's see here. What book has made the biggest impact on your life?
The Bible. Yeah, I read it every morning. So other than that, I would say probably Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. You know, when you walk into my training room in my office, up on the wall in my office, it says, what the mind of man can conceive and believe he can achieve. And that's a quote right out of Think and Grow Rich. And I believe it. My team hears that virtually every day. They see it every day. And that would be the theme of my office.
Yeah, I love that. What would be your favorite verse from the Bible?
My favorite verse in the Bible, there are so many. Be anxious in nothing, but in all things through prayer and supplication, make your requests known to God, and the peace that surpasses all understanding will calm your heart and mind.
I love it.
That's one of them.
Now, I'm going to ask an infamous question. If you could spend a whole day with someone, past or present, for a whole day, who would it be and why?
Brett, he answered this question.
Yeah.
He prepped me for this one.
This hero's famous question.
Yeah. That was a tough one. But then I got to thinking, my father was a Army veteran. He served in Vietnam, 2 different tours, and was exposed to Agent Orange over in Vietnam. And as a result of that, he died at age 59.
Wow.
He and my mother divorced when I was 6. And we had a very rough relationship. Wasn't the greatest father-son relationship, not one that I wish that I would have had. And now that I am virtually the age that he was when he died, I have a better understanding for why he did some of the things he did, why some of the things happened, what he was dealing with personally that I couldn't understand at that age. For that reason, I would say I would pick my dad, and then I also would like to acknowledge a lot of the really great things that he did.
I love that. That's powerful.
So, yeah.
Shout out to Brett. Brett is one of
he's a huge fan.
Love him. He's awesome. And you have 2 kids in real estate. You have Brianne and you have Brett, and then you have your another son in insurance. So you've been a big influence on them in the industry too. Right.
And then my second daughter, so Brianne's my oldest child. My second daughter is in the mortgage business.
Taking over.
And so, yeah, we've got insurance, real estate, and mortgage all covered.
I love it.
Just get one of them into title, and you're good.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie, I did ask that when we were on the retreat. Now, at the end of the retreat, when we left, one thing that popped in my mind is you are such one of my friends. I was actually talking to him. I was like, you need to connect with Gordon, because he's like, in my mind, a visionary creator. He's the kind of individual that you speak with, and he can help you clarify your vision and your purpose to the point where you know what your plan needs to be. And majority of small businesses fail for the lack of not having a business plan, right? Mm-hmm. So that's so crucial for people who want to organize a team, is to be very crystal clear on that plan. Can you share some of the fundamentals for people who are listening to this, some tools that they can use to get there? Yeah, no, first of all, you gave me a really big compliment, because I appreciate you recognizing, that is my approach. What I find is that so many people that are trying to build teams, they unnecessarily complicate the process. Okay. It doesn't have to be that difficult. The bottom line is, okay, once I put the infrastructure together, what is the infrastructure? It is my independent contractor agreement. It is my CRM that I'm going to use to run the team. Okay. It is my back office software.
Okay. It's the lead sources that I'm going to use to provide for my team. So once I get the foundation or the infrastructure built, then it's simply about investing in people.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I've got to go out and I've got to find the people that I want to invest in, because I'm going to put X number of dollars into those people every month, counting on getting a larger return back. So I'm going to go out and I'm going to recruit, and I'm going to bring these people in. I'm going to personally train them, and then I'm going to support them. The training is ongoing. I do a team meeting from 11 to 12, 5 days a week for my team in the office. Everybody meets in the office in one training room. And so I keep it simple. And I think that's the biggest problem. As I think I mentioned at our conference, Kiro, I think the reason that people complicate it is because of the large amount of money that's there.
Yeah.
And people, it's like when I take on a new client and I say, okay, this is what we can accomplish. Most of the time their mind goes, wow, that is more than I ever thought I could do. And then what we do is we think back to, okay, anybody who makes that amount of money must have a really complicated, complex, busy life.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what happens is then they make that a reality by complicating and busying themselves, as opposed to finding a way to keep it simple.
Yeah.
And the simpler that you keep it, the faster that you can grow. Also, I'm going to tell you this, the simpler you can keep it, the easier it is to avoid overwhelm. Okay. And that's one of the biggest things that holds teams back is overwhelm. In other words, how much can you mentally handle before you say, stop. That's enough. I'm spinning out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, keep things simple and you won't spin out of control so easily.
Yeah. One of the stories I want you to share is the story of Brett in Temple, Arizona. I don't know if that's Temple or if that's the university that's in Temple.
Tempe?
No, it's in Arizona. His name is Kurt. He owns the 3.
Kurt Stenson.
Yep.
In Tucson. Yeah.
Yep. And that was an amazing story because you could see how, if you have a clear vision, whatever you can conceive and believe, you can achieve. So if you could share that, that'd be great.
So Kurt Stenson's a special client. I've literally coached him virtually from the first day I started coaching, realtors 27 years ago. Previously worked for another organization, and we would coach for a few years, and then the leader of that organization would say, okay, break it up. You've been with him too long. Go somewhere. You got to go with somebody else. And his business would go down. And so he'd say, no, I got to have Gordon back. He'd come back on my schedule. His business goes back up again. This happened like 3 times. So finally he said, listen, you either let me coach with Gordon or I am out of your program, period. So, well, guess what? Okay, you got what you want. So we got on a call. I think this is the story you're talking about here. We got on a call and Kurt was just burned out. He was bored with the business. Okay. And he said, I don't know what to do. I just feel like I'm going through the motions. So I said, all right, we're going to play a game. Because Kurt's an expressive personality. He loves to play games. I said, for the first 2 hours of your prospecting, you're putting food on the table. You're doing your bread and butter prospecting. However, the 3rd hour, I called it landing the whale. Okay. For the 3rd hour, we're going to have fun. We're going to go after the multi-million-dollar expired. We're going to go after the big land deal. We're going to go after the big commercial sale. We're going to go after the whopping deals.
Yeah.
And so he loved it. And literally, I think it was, if it wasn't the first week, it was very shortly thereafter we started this. He got a hold of a guy that had a huge tract of land. And basically, to make a long story short, he brokered it to one of the builder developers in the area for multi-million dollars.
Yeah.
And then wound up, that led to another land deal, another land deal, another land deal. And he went from $90,000 in income in 1 year to $2 million the next year.
Wow.
Just from one idea.
Yeah. And
I give credit to Kurt because he's the one that had to, if all I had was an idea. He was the one that had to put it to work.
Yeah.
And he did it really well.
And then Kurt and Gordon were nice enough to share some of the competitions they would play. Can you share some of those? It was actually pretty impressive.
Again, Kurt's short attention span, gets bored real easy. And so he had an off month, and I said, all right, I'm going to challenge you. And we're going to play a game. It's called 30 on 30. And here's the deal. You've got to take 30 listings in 30 days. Well, some people I could say that to, and they, yeah, right. Okay, fine. And they wouldn't take it seriously. But Kurt not only does he like to have fun, he's highly competitive. And he's highly competitive with himself. And so he knew that I was going to hold him accountable to it. And he just knew, okay, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So anyway, 30 on 30. And I want to say by the end of that first 30 days, he had taken like 34 listings, which is more than he'd ever taken his entire life in 1 month.
Yeah.
And so, all right, game's over. What are we going to do next? I said, okay, now it's 90 on 90. 90 listings in 90 days. And again, he exceeded the 90, 92, 93, something like that.
Wow.
Over a 3-month period of time. And again, his business went through the roof and got him revved back up again.
Yeah, I love that.
I think the important lesson there is, without knowing him, it's just, I'm probably at a spot in my business now too, where, you spend so much time mastering the repetitious boredom that you tend to just get set in your ways, and it just becomes, it's not exciting anymore. Right. And you get complacent because you've probably, like you said, took 30 listings in 30 days. You're sitting on some good money, and, you don't have that same drive that you do, when you first started.
True. The only thing I challenge you to think about is this too. Think about the quote again, where the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So you first have to make them, you're bringing up the idea, then you have to make them believe that it's possible. As a team leader, 19 agents on the roster, you have to first and foremost bring an idea to them. Hey, if you do this transaction or these many, this is the life that you can have. But then you have to make them believe that that's possible. Now that's what separates, sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, but I was just going to say that separates great team leaders from, everybody else.
Right. One of the biggest challenges, and I'm going to say also the most fun, it's kind of like if I said to you guys, okay, we're going to do a visualization exercise together.
I love this one. Yep.
All right. And we're going to visualize life on Mars. We're going to visualize ourselves living on Mars. We can't do that. Not effectively, we can't. Why? Because we have no clue what Mars is like. We have no clue what it's like. We know what we've read and seen on TV and all this stuff, but we don't know. Well, so when I challenge people, I said, okay, you need to start visualizing yourself at the next level where you want to be. The challenge is, if they don't know what it looks like, how can you visualize it? So what I'm constantly working with them on is creating more exposure. Okay, you've got to get out there and you've got to start seeing what life looks like. You start talking to people who are living the life that you want to live. Okay, and find out what it's like. What's the good, what's the bad, what's the ups, what's the downs, how did you get there, what are the mistakes you made? Kind of like what you guys do with your lightning round. Just ask a bunch of questions, okay? Because you've got to start gaining clarity. If you're going to look forward into a goal or a life that you want to create, but you have no idea what it looks like, then how can you effectively do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got to continue. So I encourage my team to read constantly. Every single day, I send them something we use a group text called GroupMe. Most people are probably familiar with it. And that's the primary way that I communicate with my team is through GroupMe. And every day I will post a video, podcast, something motivational, inspirational every day. And the goal is to motivate them and to inspire them, but also to stretch their mind and start thinking bigger. Because the clearer that you are as to where you want to go, Kira, you brought this up a moment ago. The clearer that you are as to where you want to go, the easier it is to get there.
Yeah.
Most people, when they're setting goals and when they're making plans, they're making vague plans. Like, all right, if I want to go from New Jersey to Tucson, Arizona, it's like saying, all right, I just need to drive southwest. Well, yes, you do, but maybe you're going to hit Tucson and maybe you're going to hit San Diego. No, you got to be specific. What's the path look like? And the clearer that you get, the more likely you're going to be to accomplish that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think everybody has a different idea of what that, thinking bigger and what leveling up is to them, right? Mm-hmm. Like some people will say, hey, all I want to do, I just, my idea of success is getting a Porsche. Other people would say my idea of success is making sure that, my wife doesn't have to work and that, I've paid off my house. So what are some ways you work with your team to figure out what motivates each of them?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first of all, I spend a lot of individual time with them. I believe that for me to do my job as a leader, it's more than just real estate. Anybody that I coach will tell you the same thing. It's not just about real estate. You got to coach the whole person.
Yeah.
So you got to understand their background, where they came from. Okay. What their goals are, what drives them, what holds them back, how are they motivated? You got to understand these things. And so I spend individual time with each person on my team to try to learn what they want, what their hot buttons are, what their limitations are, what's holding them back. The better that I can understand that person, the more effectively I can coach and train that person. Again, that's what I love. I mean, I love trying to figure people out so that I know just what button to push that's going to help move them forward.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this, you're starting to realize why Gordon is the Ted Lasso of real estate, because I think it was Tony Robbins who said, if you want to motivate people, you have to find out what's motivating them. And that's essentially it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is, as you've heard before, we can't motivate anybody. All I can do is give them information that they can use to then motivate themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do.
Yeah, you can give them the idea that essentially conceiving it in their mind, you're giving it to them as a picture, and then you're giving them the belief in themselves that they can achieve it. And then from there, they're able to make it actually work.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. One of the things that was actually very, I love that you did the visualization exercise on the retreat as well, which was really cool.
That was totally impromptu. I didn't plan to do it,
I absolutely loved it. And it would be, if you have any audio recordings of that you could share with our team, we can actually include it at the end of this episode. If everybody stays to the end, you can actually get to listen to it, which would be amazing as a perk if you do, because it was so eye-opening when you're sitting there and you're doing the exercise. Your heart rate starts to change. You're in different environments, and you're literally changing your physiology as Gordon is walking you through this.
So Kira, here's what I'll do. I do not, other than the recording that we have from the summit, which we're in the process of editing and going to get out, that will have it on there.
Okay.
But otherwise, if you want to make arrangements, you've got my number, call me. And if you want to record it, I'll do it with you over the phone or however you want to do it. But other than the recording from the summit, I don't have a recording of that, but I'd be glad to give you one if that will help.
We can actually rip it from the summit recording because I know we have access to it now, other than the live one. So we can definitely include that for the listeners as well, which would be amazing.
Cool.
Some of the details that you were going through in the importance of visualization, can you share some of that and how you implement it with your coaching for team training?
So with that exercise?
Yep.
Okay. So again, coming back to, we all perform up to a level of our own self-image. All three of us here, we see ourselves. Let's just use an example of something we can all relate to. Let's say an annual income. Okay. We all see ourselves earning a certain level of income. And even though we set a goal to achieve more than that, as long as we see ourselves at that level, then we're going to self-regulate. If we start to get ahead, we're going to sabotage. If we start to fall behind, we're going to motivate and inspire ourselves. We're going to find a way to regulate ourselves there. Okay, so what I try to teach is, all right, if you want to go somewhere else, you've got to, like I said a moment ago, you've got to visualize yourself at that next level. Because I believe that we create our own reality. Now, I don't mean that in some crazy out there way. What I mean is, if you think, like I said, my team did 59 transactions last month, right? Obviously, you guys are experts in real estate. Don't you realize you're not supposed to do that in this market? Don't you realize this is a terrible real estate market? Nobody's making any money right now. Don't you realize that? Well, guess what? If that's the way you think, then that's your reality.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
We don't think that way. We think this is the best market. As a matter of fact, in the 5 years we've been as a team, that was our best month ever. So you can't convince us it's a bad month. So what I try to do with this exercise is I want to show them that visualization really and truly works. There was a study done that shows that if you can visualize to the point that you experience genuine emotion, it has the same physiological change on you as if you truly experience it in reality. It has the same impact either way. And so that's why I take them through the visualization of going to the beach and then going to the honky-tonk bar, then going to the funeral. Because if you really allow yourself to get into it, you listen to my voice, and you visualize what I'm asking you to visualize, your pulse is going to change. Your mood is going to change. You're going to notice physical changes in your body. And then when you open your eyes and I say, listen, did you ever go anywhere? No, I'm still in my chair the whole time.
Yeah.
But yet I experienced physiological changes in my body. Well, if that exercise causes you to do that, then you must be able to do that.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Does. It's so, when you ended with the funeral part, I was so sad because wait, keep going, get me on a high again. Get me back to the Tonki bar.
I shouldn't have left it on a funeral.
Yeah, you should. I was so sad. No, but the you're in the business of grooming people, and that's what's important for people to realize. You're creating a best version out of the people that you're around. Now, for somebody who's listening to this, if they have a team member that maybe they groomed and now they're doing very well, but then that team member maybe is getting complacent.
Yeah.
What would you coach that team leader to do to be able to get someone who has great potential to actually accept that next level?
So here's what a long time, my very first coach taught me. Okay. He said, complacency is when you achieve the goal you set, you fail to set a new goal. That's complacency. See, I'm a believer that, and I don't mean this in a negative way, hear me all the way out. Okay. I'm a believer that you should never, ever achieve the goals you set, ever. Because as soon as you start to achieve the goal you've set, you've got to set a new goal.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you're never, ever standing still. You're either going forward or you're going backwards. You're never standing still. So whenever you have, quote unquote, arrived, that's a dangerous spot to be in.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got to keep moving that. It's like the carrot in front of the horse. It's pulling the carriage. He's always going towards that carrot, but he never catches it.
Yeah,
that's the way we've got to be. And so when you've got a team member that has hit that area of complacency, it probably has to do with the fact that they haven't set another goal, and perhaps they haven't set another goal because they don't know what they want. They don't know what's out there. It's kind of like you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so I want to help to expose them to those next levels and give them some thoughts and ideas that perhaps can flip that light switch on and get them re-excited again.
Yeah, I love that. Now I'm going to transition because I know that the first half of this is a lot of the things that I genuinely love and was exposed to with you. But we completely drove by the fact that in 2019, that was your first time creating a
First full year as a team, yes.
So for everybody listening to this, in 4 years, you built a team that's going to be producing 600 plus transactions.
Right.
How did you do that? And what does somebody need to
19 team members.
Yeah, it's mostly charm and good looks.
Yeah.
And it was easy from day one.
Yeah. I mean, how did I do that? Again, back to, I've always been somebody that finds a way to take complicated things and make them simple. I'm a teacher at heart. Okay, I'm a teacher. I love to teach. And for me, teaching is taking something that is complicated and making it understandable. And that's the way that I run my business, is I try to keep things simple. So I started with, again, just recruiting a few people, made a lot of mistakes, hired some wrong people, did some wrong things, self-corrected, and then but I kept moving forward. I mean, I'm trying to give you an eloquent answer to a difficult question, Kiro. I mean, how did I do it?
I can give you an example.
I put a plan together and I followed it. I screwed up a lot.
Yeah.
And then fixed it as best I could and just kept moving forward, kept setting new goals and trying to get better and trying to get better. I'll tell you one thing that I think all of my team members would tell you, and this is from the heart, that I don't think about myself. Okay. My attitude, if you go back to that great quote from Zig Ziglar, the way to get what you want out of life is to help other people get what they want out of life.
Right.
And so my thought and my approach has always been, I put my team members first. I think about them and how to make their lives better, how to help them grow, how to help them produce at a high level. And when they produce at a high level, guess what? I win too. Yeah. But the more that it's kind of like that realtor that's focusing on the commission all the time. When you're focusing on the commission, how effective are you on that listing presentation?
No, not at all.
You got to focus on the customer.
Yep.
The money will be there, but you focus on the customer. Well, that's the same thing with the team. You focus on the team, you focus on the people, you invest yourself in people. I am there for them. They're not there for me.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, are you
I
still,
think that's probably the best
are
way
you
I can answer that.
Are you still in production?
No.
Okay. So if there's,
No, I've got that occasional past client that I can't pass off to somebody else.
right.
I think I've got one listing right now, and I may have sold 3 houses last year, but
God bless you.
no, I'm not.
Okay. So you have about 20 people on your team. So they're doing all about 30 something deals each.
Yeah, we averaged last month. I think we averaged a little over 3 transactions per person.
Great. Great. Now I imagine when you're out there recruiting, are you guys, this is a question that we ask a lot of team leaders. Are you grooming that really talented salesperson who's got, 1 or 2 years under their belt, and you're helping them get from 5 transactions to 30 transactions?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you picking up producers that, are already doing 20 to 30 deals on their own?
That's a great question. Everybody, and we talked about this at our summit, Kiro, is everybody's got to decide how they want to go about building their team. Okay, there's, you could look at what Gordon Watson does and say, man, I want to do it just, well, guess what? There's more than one way to do it. Okay, you can get there other ways. My chosen method is through brand new salespeople. I'm not real big on somebody who has got experience in the business. Why? Because they have, in their mind, they've already figured out what's right and wrong.
Yeah, it's hard,
how to do things.
Hard to switch that.
It's hard to change. And here's the other thing that just drives me nuts. When I interview somebody who's been in the business for a while, 9 times out of 10, you know what their first question is?
What's my split?
There you go. You know it already. What's my split?
Yeah.
That's a deal killer for me. Okay? Because they're not thinking about how many more houses they could sell with my training. They're not thinking about the fact that I cover all their overhead. I mean, what's the average expense, of the average agent? 30 to 50%.
Right.
The average agent out there spending 30 to 50% of their gross income to do the business they're doing.
Yeah.
So I choose to build my business with brand new salespeople. I've got one guy on my team who had been in real estate previously, had gotten out of real estate because he had a really bad experience, and turned out to be my personal trainer. And through conversation, I convinced him to get back in the real estate business. And well, let's see, yesterday he went out and bought a brand new Range Rover.
Nice.
And sold 15 houses last month.
Wow.
He's done better.
and for the team leaders listening to this, Gordon, can you share your profit margin?
Yes. So my overhead right now is running 34% of gross revenue.
Good for you.
So we're operating on a 66% profit margin.
Which is unheard of, which is insane.
Absolutely.
What are some of the key things that people need to focus in on when they're developing a team, like the key roles to be able to become profitable like that?
Well, I mean, the higher the average commission is, the more careless people are with their dollars. Okay. I said it, in jest at our meeting, I said, listen, guys, you want to learn how to control expenses? Come sell real estate in Oklahoma for a year or two. Our average sales price here is $250, $260, is where, there's a lot of folks in that room whose average commission check's $25,000, $30,000.
Yeah.
Well, they're throwing dollars at everything. So, you've got to, one of the things, and I know this is controversial, and again, I'm not saying my way is the only way, but I am not a fan of hiring staff that does everything for the salesperson. The salesperson doesn't do anything. That, they make the sale and the staff does everything. No, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, if they're selling 3 or 4 houses a month, they've got time on their hands. So the way that I run my staff is my staff handles everything in office. The team, the salespeople, they do the stuff out of office. They go meet the home inspector. They're meeting the appraiser. They're doing that stuff out in the field. Because if I've got to hire staff to cover all those other things, I can't be profitable.
Right.
So you got to monitor your expenses. Even if you're in an area where you've got a high sales price and high average commission, still, I mean, don't be foolish. The other thing is, whenever my salespeople are out there being hands-on, meeting appraisers, going through home inspections. Listen, when you're there with the home inspector, you're learning a heck of a lot about construction.
Yeah.
You're learning a lot that will help you in answering questions with future buyers. I mean, that's how I learned so much about, homes and real, construction and all this stuff, was just listening to the builders and inspectors that were out there doing it every day.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely
So you got to watch your expenses.
And we're guilty of that because at times when it's pouring in and the average commission check is high, you're like, let's throw some money on this subscription for these lead services. And then John comes bashing in your door and he's like, we've been paying for this for 4 months. What did we get from it?
What's the ROI?
I'm like, what is that company name again?
You're like, yeah, you should cancel that.
Right.
I'm like, can you dispute it, please?
You don't ever spend money on something that you can't track.
Yeah. No, I love that. So now you're making the agents, because that makes sense too, because if the agent doesn't want to produce for themselves more than 3 transactions a month because they're comfortable with that lifestyle, if you're leveraging their time even more, then they're just going to stop and they're going to get so comfortable.
I was just thinking that.
Right. Yeah. So then you're just basically paying.
So you're bringing up an interesting point that I want to address.
Yeah, please.
I make it very, very clear to my salespeople. If, my standard is if you've been with me for a year or more, I'm expecting you to have a minimum standard of 3 sales a month. Okay. Now, if that's all they do is 3 sales a month and that's all they want and they're happy with that, I'm okay with that. I can be profitable with that. I'm okay with that. Not everybody that works for me has to want to sell 10 or 15 houses a month. I'm okay with that. It's not up to me to set their goals. I do have to set minimum standards as a business owner, but it's not up to me to set their goals. I've got this one lady that works for me and she's phenomenal. I mean, every client loves her. And yet 3 to 4 sales a month. She's been with me probably 3 years. I hired her right after COVID. She lost her job as a result of COVID. And she's the one I told the story about that she replaced her income within 6 weeks. If she was making better than $30,000 a year at the nonprofit she was working at.
Yeah.
And she came to work for me, and within 6 weeks, she had exceeded that. But she'll do 3 to 4 sales a month. And we've talked several times, and she can have a great life like that. She's happy with it. I'm happy with it.
Yeah. It's one of the stories also Gordon shared, which I think is important to note, is that although his office is like a kumbaya office, it's like a Ted Lasso kind of, everybody's friendly and like it's all positivity. Gordon brings down the iron fist on someone who isn't a cultural fit or doesn't fit the core values in an instant.
Yeah.
Can you share the importance of that in an organization?
Oh yeah. The culture of an office is huge. I have an office where, and maybe I'm naive. I don't think so. Brett's over here behind me, listening to everything I'm saying. He'll correct. Trust me, if I say something wrong, he'll correct me. All right. But I think I'm right in saying this. Everybody that works for me enjoys coming to this office because I don't have anybody on the team who is into drama, who's negative, who's undermining the attitude that I'm trying to create. Because I do have an iron fist when it comes to regulating that. I mean, I've fired people in the middle of team meetings before. I've fired people in the middle of training, just because of the attitude. I will not allow it. I will not allow it. It's not fair. It's not fair to my other salespeople.
It's true.
Okay. So there's times when you got to have an iron fist because it's almost like you're protecting your salespeople.
Yeah. It's like it's your flock. You have to make sure they're good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to anyone listening to this and they're saying, oh, well, Gordon's running a great team and he's doing all this. Why would he also start coaching too? Or why would he continue coaching?
Mm-hmm.
What would your response be?
Because I love to do it. It's my calling.
And you're great at it too. So that's also a plus.
Thank you. No, like I said, for me, it's not work. I mean, that Scottsdale event, it was a lot of work to get it put together. I'll tell you that. But once we got there and we got to get up in front of you guys and share and listen to the feedback and listen to the success stories, man, I love that.
Yeah.
It's just fun. So that's why I do it. I think Steve would probably say the same thing. I mean, Steve, he's just a rock star. And everybody loves Steve as well. And he and I have that in common. We love helping people. We love making a difference. And, one of the things that I've so appreciated is we've gotten so much positive feedback after that because, they appreciated the fact that we didn't just kind of sell concepts. We didn't just share. No, we gave specifics.
Yeah.
This is what you do. This is how you do it. These are the do's. These are the don'ts. So people walked away with actual meat. And we had so many people that, were appreciative of that fact. And it's because we want to help you make your life better.
We were at lunch, I think the day Kiro got back from that event in Scottsdale, and we were explaining to people who work in title. It was a title insurance lunch, just 4 of us, and we were explaining to the other guys, the title guys, who you and Steve were. And one of the things I've Gordon, of course, you and I just are meeting today, but I've worked with Steve exclusively for probably two plus years, and the way that I described him was, there's other coaches in the business that will help you with like a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan, but I don't think there's anybody out there that helps you with what can I do today. Steve Powers is the kind of coach, and I'm sure you're very similar, where it's like, hey, creating a 5-year plan is all good and all, but I want to know what I can do between now and October 31st by the end of the month to get, some more deals under my belt. So
yeah.
It's all immediate.
I think one of the things that makes us unique. There's a lot of people out there that want to coach you. A lot of people out there. And I know a lot of them. Steve, just like me, he's sold 4,000 or 5,000 homes over his career. I've done somewhere between 65, 70,000 coaching calls. And Steve's done more than that. I always carried an average of about 75 clients, a week, and he was always about 80, 85. I mean, he always had to do a little bit more, but he's, that's Steve. Yeah. But I mean, between the two of us, how many people do you know out there that have sold at the volume that we've sold, have coached at the volume that we've coached, and now I've got this team that I'm running too. So I'm in the trenches with you guys every single day, dealing with the same things, figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And so we have that to share with our customers.
Yeah. Someone coined this frame at the event. It's generating income at will, or like by desire. When you want the money now, it's like you're going to generate it now. That's Steve. When you want to create a future or like a plan, that's Gordon. So it's like a great like yin and yang for that. And just to give an idea to the viewers, Gordon, how much time do you spend a week on the team?
So I'm normally at the office by 8:00 in the morning. And typically what I'm doing is I'm getting my thoughts together for the team meeting. Okay. And, then I'm doing a lot of Watson Powers things as well. I don't know, Kiro. It's a hard question. Some days it's 2 or 3 hours. That's probably on average about right.
So that's great. Insane. That's created by design, which is exactly what you did. And that's what you planned. It wasn't accidental.
My salespeople are very, very well trained. It's kind of like if you put the time in up front, you don't have to put as much time in later.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
It's great.
I love this. Gordon, you are an absolute amazing person that people should definitely connect with if they want to grow their thought, their thinking, think bigger, have a clearer vision. What's a way for someone to connect with you if they want to know more?
So if they want to connect with me, I'll give you my email address and I'll give you my phone number. And the number I'm going to give you guys is my cell phone number. The number my wife will call. Okay, so it's real. All right. So my email is Gordon, Gordon. A lot of people want to put an A in there. So 2 O's, Gordon at watsonpowers.com. Or you can call me directly, 405-210-6886. Again, 405-210-6886.
Beautiful.
So if I can do anything to help you guys, your listeners, happy to do it.
We appreciate that.
And Gordon, if you could share kind of the ideal client that would succeed the most with your coaching, what would that person look like?
Oh man. I would say we coach the individual agent. Kiro, as you know, we coach small teams, we coach large teams. I would say Steve and I are most interested in coaching people who are the bigger thinkers. We've coached people to do 25 sales a year. That's fine. And I'm not downgrading people that that's what they want to do. But I think at the stage of our careers that we're at, well, let me put it this way, Kiro. I don't have anybody I'm coaching that has a goal of less than $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we're looking to coach that person who's that go-getter who really wants to make something out of their life. That's the type of person that we're after.
Love it. That's
awesome.
That's perfectly said. Gordon, absolute pleasure having you on. We're going to add all the information in the description below. I have 2 flies attacking me at the same exact time. This is insane.
I'm getting ready to turn my drones off right now.
Please, Gordon. This is absolute pleasure. We appreciate you.